Do you ever feel like you're speaking, but no one is really listening? You sit at the kitchen table, open your heart, and before you've even finished your sentence, your parents jump in with advice. Or they laugh it off. Or worse, they tell you you're being dramatic. It feels like a wall goes up between you. Your words hit that wall, slide down, and disappear. If you've ever walked away from a conversation with your parents feeling smaller, unheard, or wondering if you're overreacting, this video is for you. Because today, we're going deep into why this happens, and we'll use the wisdom of one of the most revolutionary psychologists in history, Carl Rogers, to show you what's really going on and what you can do to change this. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn might completely change how you see yourself and your relationship with your parents. Let's be real. Most of us have had moments where talking to our parents feels pointless. You share something vulnerable, like a problem at work, and before you've barely finished your sentence, they say, just work harder. You express feeling anxious or overwhelmed, and they tell you, you think you have problems? When I was your age. Or maybe you confide a dream or a hope, and their first response is a warning. Be careful, that's risky. You don't want to get hurt. It's not that they don't care. They do. Most parents genuinely want the best for us. But something happens in those moments. A wall goes up, unspoken and heavy. Suddenly you feel like your words don't land. They might hear the words, but they don't register your feelings. They're offering advice, trying to protect you, or even unintentionally dismissing you. And all you wanted was to be understood. This is more than frustration. It's a kind of loneliness that sits in your chest and doesn't go away. It's painful. It makes you second guess yourself. Am I overreacting? Do my thoughts even matter? You might shrink a little, edit what you say next time, or avoid sharing altogether. Over time, these small moments accumulate, shaping how you see yourself and how safe you feel expressing your emotions. Here's the deeper truth. The reason this hurts so much isn't just because your parents are bad listeners or because they don't care. It's because being heard, really heard, is a fundamental human need. Psychologists like Carl Rogers show us that this need isn't a luxury. It's essential for us to feel valued, understood, and emotionally safe. When it's unmet, we experience real emotional pain, not because we're weak or overly sensitive, but because our minds and hearts are wired to crave recognition and empathy. You see, it's not just a problem of communication, it's a problem of connection. And when that connection feels absent, it can leave us feeling invisible in our own lives. But the good news is, understanding why it hurts is the first step toward learning how to change the way you experience these moments, even if your parents don't change overnight. Carl Rogers believed that being truly heard, really seen for who you are, is one of the most basic human needs. When we feel heard, validated, and understood, we feel a sense of worth, safety, and belonging. When we don't, something inside us aches. That ache isn't imaginary. It's real, wired into our nervous system, and it signals a kind of emotional disconnection that our minds interpret as rejection. Think about it. As children, we begin to understand ourselves through the reflections we get from our parents. When they nod, smile, or listen attentively, we feel, okay, I make sense. I'm worth attention. My feelings matter. But when they dismiss us, interrupt, or brush our thoughts aside, it sends a different message. We feel unsafe. We may start editing ourselves, holding back pieces of our personality, our worries, or our dreams, all to avoid that sting of rejection. Over time, this self-censoring becomes a habit, shaping the way we communicate not just with our parents, but with the world. You're not overreacting when your chest tightens or when a pit forms in your stomach after being dismissed. That's your nervous system responding to emotional disconnection. Rogers observed this again and again in his therapy sessions. His clients weren't just looking for advice or problem solving. They were longing for one thing, someone to really understand them, to be seen without judgment, without correction, without comparison. And that's the paradox. Most of us instinctively seek solutions, advice, or reassurance, but what we crave at the deepest level is simply to be acknowledged, to be heard, to have our inner world reflected back to us and accepted. Rogers realized that when this need goes unmet, especially by the people closest to us, it can leave lasting wounds. Emotional pain isn't just about what's happening externally, it's about feeling invisible in the eyes of the people we depend on most. But Rogers didn't just describe this problem. He devoted his life to showing how people could heal from it. He discovered that when someone is offered unconditional acceptance and genuine understanding, their ability to grow, trust themselves, and connect deeply with others transforms. This insight is the bridge to the solution, and it's something you can begin to apply in your own life, even if your parents don't change. Carl Rogers revolutionized psychology by introducing a concept called unconditional positive regard. Sounds fancy, right? But it's actually simple. It means listening to someone without judging them, without trying to fix them, just being fully present with them. Imagine that. Imagine telling someone how you feel, and instead of rushing in with advice, they just sit with you. They nod. They reflect back what you said, like, "So you're feeling really overwhelmed right now?" And they let you breathe. That's unconditional positive regard. Here's the thing. Most parents don't do this. Not because they don't love you, but because they think their job is to solve your problems, not to sit with your feelings. They love you, but they often rush to fix, to teach, to direct. And in doing so, they miss the most important thing you needed: to be heard. When Rogers started using this approach with clients, he saw something miraculous. People started to grow. They started to trust themselves. They became more resilient, not because he gave them solutions, but because he gave them space. So how do you bring that into your own life when your parents aren't Carl Rogers? If this is hitting close to home, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. This channel is all about helping you understand yourself and your relationships on a deeper level. If you're finding this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next deep dive we do together. Here's where things get practical. You may not be able to magically make your parents listen differently, and that can feel frustrating. But the good news is that you can start by listening to yourself differently. Carl Rogers believed that real change begins with self-acceptance. Before anyone else can truly hear you, you need to create a safe space within yourself to feel, acknowledge, and validate your own emotions. Step 1. Practice self-empathy. The next time you feel dismissed or unheard, pause and check in with yourself. Name what you're feeling. I feel frustrated. I feel invisible. I feel hurt. Don't judge yourself for feeling this way. Don't try to suppress it or rationalize it away. Simply acknowledging your emotions is a small but powerful act of self-validation. It calms your nervous system, gives you clarity, and reminds you that your feelings are real and worthy of attention. Step 2. When you do communicate with your parents, try using I statements. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," which can trigger defensiveness, say something like, "I feel really discouraged when I share something important and it's brushed off." This is not about blaming them. It's about expressing your experience clearly and respectfully. It helps you take ownership of your feelings while opening the door for them to understand you without feeling attacked. Step 3. Ask for what you need. Rogers believed in being direct about your emotional needs. You might say, "Can I share something with you? I don't need advice right now. I just need you to hear me." This is powerful because it communicates boundaries and expectations clearly. You'd be surprised how often people rise to the occasion when they know exactly what's needed, simply to listen without judgment or solutions. Even if your parents don't change overnight, practicing these steps helps you feel more grounded and less desperate for their approval. It's the first step toward emotional independence. You start to realize that your sense of worth doesn't depend entirely on whether someone else validates you. And here's the most liberating part. The more you practice hearing yourself, the less you rely on others to fill that gap. And that's where real freedom begins. Carl Rogers believed that every person carries an actualizing tendency, an inner drive to grow, to develop, and to become their best self. But there's a catch. This growth can only flourish in an environment where we feel accepted, safe, and understood. And here's the twist that changes everything. You don't have to wait for someone else, even your parents, to create that environment for you. You can start building it yourself. This process is what psychologists now often call reparenting yourself. It's about giving yourself the unconditional positive regard that you might have longed for as a child. This doesn't have to be complicated or abstract. It can be as simple as writing down your thoughts and feelings in a journal without judgment. Or it can be as simple as speaking to yourself with kindness and patience when you make a mistake, instead of criticizing or shaming yourself. Every time you acknowledge your own experiences, validate your emotions, and treat yourself with compassion, you are reparenting yourself. You are teaching yourself that your feelings, thoughts, and dreams matter, even if no one else seems to notice. Reparenting also involves seeking relationships that reflect the listening and validation you need. Friends who genuinely hear you, mentors who respect your perspective, and therapists who apply Rogers' Carla principles can all reinforce this sense of worth. By surrounding yourself with people who practice real listening, you create a supportive microenvironment that encourages your growth. Here's the paradox Rogers discovered. The more you accept yourself as you are, the more you naturally grow. You stop waiting for your parents to finally understand you, and you start living in alignment with your own voice. You stop shrinking in the shadows and begin stepping fully into your own life. The inner voice you may have silenced for years starts to speak clearly and confidently. And the most powerful insight of all, Rogers found that when we create this environment of acceptance for ourselves, change happens organically. Healing isn't about forcing someone else to see you. It's about first seeing yourself and then letting the rest of the world catch up. That realization is liberating, and it's the key to feeling truly heard, starting from within. Carl Rogers once said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." Let that sink in. When you stop fighting for your parents to finally understand you and you start listening to yourself, you'll notice something incredible. You feel lighter, freer, stronger. Feeling unheard doesn't have to define you. You can start by truly hearing yourself today. And from that place, you can invite others, including your parents, to meet you there. If this video spoke to you, give it a like, subscribe, and tap the bell. We have more coming that will help you understand yourself and build the kind of connections you've always wanted. Your voice matters. And starting now, you get to be the first one to really listen.